especially in wealthier clients. So what's really interesting is in our journey in the past, like 4.5, 5 years that we're in the market, we have really gone from very small clients, like retail investors that invest $50 a month or $100 a week, and some stuff like that, to more and more like bigger, we call them affluent clients that maybe do 4 or even 5-digit transaction from time to time, to these private clients and business clients. So high net worth individuals that invest 6 or 7 digits, like put $500,000 or $1 million into Bitcoin. Especially the high net worth individuals, they are thinking about kind of shifting or reallocating money from more traditional asset that some of them don't really work anymore today, or they don't believe that they have a big upside for the next decades, and they shift some of that money into Bitcoin.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel today. I'm here with Relay's co-founder and CEO, Julian. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. We had a fantastic chat off camera, so thank you so much for doing this with us and sharing your time and knowledge. Really appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Do you mind to give us a quick intro for those of whom they don't know you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Julian Liniger. I'm a young Bitcoiner and entrepreneur here in Switzerland, born and raised in the canton of Bern. I went to school in a small village, grew up in a small village, and then did my university at the University of Bern, so the capital city. I'm 32 years old now. I just made it into the Forbes 30 under 30 list 2022, but now I'm too old. I'm 32, but Bitcoin keeps me young, so that's why I look so young still. People think I'm like in my mid 20s, but I'm actually 32. Yeah. Into Bitcoin for 10 years now. In 2025, I have my 10-year anniversary. So a friend of mine got me into Bitcoin in 2015. He came more from a tech perspective. He studied computer science, and I studied psychology and business administration. So basically these things that everyone can study. You don't need to be super smart for it, right? And then when I finished my studies, I basically started working a little bit in banking and management consulting. So I was always interested in like finance and investing, stuff like that. But I never really was able to, work properly in big organizations or companies. I really needed to become my own boss, even though I did also some sort of a small career in the Swiss Army. So I spent 14 months there, and then the yearly courses. So in total, it was 600 days as a first lieutenant. But yeah, this was a very interesting experience, like very authoritarian, right? And this kind of, so that I was able to kind of work in such corporate hierarchical systems, but not very well. I felt like I need to break out. I'm more like creative. I need to do something. I need to create something on my own. I need to be my own boss. I need to be flexible, etc. And so that's what led me to the whole entrepreneurship path. Basically, right after my studies, I was given two opportunities. One, I could join a consulting company and just do the consulting journey, right? Or I could try my own thing. So that's what I did. I was maybe 25, 26, started my first company. Then there was that was not very successful, but there was a second company coming out of this, which was moderately successful. And then there was Relay coming out of it. We went live 2020, so like not even in summer 2020, so not even 5 years ago. And it was quite a journey, and quite successful and quite fulfilling so far to bring as many Bitcoin to as many people as possible in Europe. So that's here we are now.
Fantastic. I bet it must be super challenging. And how does it feel to be a Bitcoin entrepreneur? Because I'm sure there is going to be a lot of challenges coming your way, right?
Yeah, it's very challenging for sure, but also you learn. I learned so much. Like I can't imagine if I had taken any other path that I would have learned so much. So already being an entrepreneur and doing your own thing, starting your own thing, literally from scratch, like from zero. There was nothing. End of 2018, beginning of 2019, when you kind of started thinking about that, there was nothing. literally, and now it's like this company, so that's where you learn a lot, and I can't imagine learning even close to as much if I went to work for a big consulting company, or even for an SME, or for whatever company. You just don't learn as much. Or if you do an academic, PhD journey, yeah, I think you definitely learn a lot, right? But never this kind of diverse learnings about legal stuff, about business, about finances, about how to market something, like about technology, about human beings, about people, about venture capital in our case, about expanding. It was just crazy amount of learning, and it never stops. When there's one fire that you can put out, there are two new fires that are starting to burn, and then so you always have to learn very quickly and go through these very quick learning journeys in order to solve these problems. And then there will always be this next problem, and there are like parallel paths going on all the time. So you need to be kind of crazy to like that, and I do, and I do enjoy that, and so does my co-founder, Adam, and all the people that are working at Relay. We're all like startuppers and like driven entrepreneurs who want to do something. So yeah, it was a very nice journey, and that entrepreneurship versus like having a corporate like 9 to 5 day job, coupled or like combined with this new technology and new concept that people still after 15 years have a hard time to grasp. It's very dynamic and fast moving, and basically distributing around the world like wildfire, which is Bitcoin. So I think there's also a point to make about the difference between a normal entrepreneur, let's say just a startup entrepreneur in a more traditional industry, to a Bitcoin entrepreneur. Like it's yeah, I would say it's even like it's another one on top, right? So it's yeah, no, it's super interesting, super challenging. I learn a lot. I really feel it. I really enjoy it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I can say about this.
I bet, and it's one of those things where you can't learn it in school. There is no books you can read. You have to just put your face into the mud, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And learn the hard way. What's your take on Bitcoin? I mean, 10 years is quite a long time. So do you see Bitcoin more as a store of value, more as a currency? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it can be a lot of stuff, and it will evolve into a lot more than it is now, and a lot of that we might not even see yet. But currently, and so if I look at the last 10 years and even the next 5 to 10 years, I definitely see it as this digital gold, this digital store of value. And I think there's even a way where it can only be this, and it doesn't have to necessarily be more, in order to be a super revolutionary, super promising technology network asset. It's this digital asset, the best store of value that we have as humanity ever invented. And so even if it's just that, which a lot of, especially also crypto people or venture capital people think, oh, if it's only that, it's boring, right? I don't think so. I think even if it's only quote unquote that, it's maybe together with AI and maybe quantum computing, it's one of the top three big trends and forces that will just revolutionize our global economy, our society, and the way we live in the next 10 years. And so that's also what what I'm focusing on, what we are focusing on, what our interest lies in, is that to kind of educate and propagate, educate people about this and propagate and try to help distribute this new technology, bring this new technology to people, because it makes the world so much better. Just if people and institutions like companies and nations adopt Bitcoin as a sound money and as a store of value instrument, as this unit of account for capital, as Michael Saylor adopts it, that alone is so big. The potential is so huge that this is super exciting. And then there's this other category where, okay, it could also become, or it can already be used now, or it can become really adopted as well as a form of payment, as a medium of exchange, as a unit of account, as a ledger, like single source of truth for whatever data. Like I could see notary systems being put on the Bitcoin blockchain, healthcare data, the thing called, like, I don't know the English word for it, but like a real estate ledger, who owns which apartment in Switzerland or in wherever in the world. There are countless things, and then you can go on about smart contract stuff, some DeFi stuff, some NFT stuff, even meme coins, like everything that is now kind of being tried out in the crypto world. Those things that make sense, they could all come to Bitcoin. It does make sense to have the strongest, most distributed, most open source, most decentralized, most secure network as a basis of all these use cases. Many of them don't make sense, but those who make sense, they will not be on the long term on something like Ethereum or Solana or Cardano or any of these other chains, because they are not really decentralized. They are not really strong. They are not really secure. They're not really distributed and independent, etc., etc. All these things that are important if you want to have valuable data on a network, or transact millions, billions, trillions on the network. These things are very important, and Bitcoin as a network outcompetes by far all these others. So yeah, there are these two categories. Bitcoin just only, quote unquote, as a digital gold and store of value, which I believe is already in itself an absolutely extraordinary, huge use case that I'm focusing on. And then there's this whole potential for the future that Bitcoin could become even much more, which I think we'll see. Maybe we'll become interested in some of these as well in the next few years.
No doubt in the past, even 5 or 8 years, it's become much easier to access and buy Bitcoin, right? A company like yours, they allow users to swap fiat for Bitcoin, for example. Do you see a trend in which people are starting to maybe invest less in real estate, for example, and choosing Bitcoin? Because at the end of the day, it's easier. You don't have to think about any headache, any tenants, they pay rent, it goes up in value.
Yes, absolutely, especially in wealthier clients. So what's really interesting is in our journey in the past, like 4.5, 5 years that we're in the market, we have really gone from very small clients, like retail investors that invest $50 a month or $100 a week, and stuff like that, to more and more like bigger, we call them affluent clients that maybe do 4 or even 5-digit transaction from time to time, to these private clients and business clients. So high net worth individuals that invest 6 or 7 digits, like put $500,000 or $1 million into Bitcoin. And businesses that also put bigger amounts onto their balance sheet. And so we've seen that, and definitely, especially the high net worth individuals, they are thinking about kind of shifting or reallocating money from more traditional asset that some of them don't really work anymore today, or they don't believe that they have a big upside for the next decades, and they shift some of that money into Bitcoin. So some of them have like a portfolio approach, and they think, oh, I probably should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of my portfolio into Bitcoin. That's also what BlackRock is starting to kind of advise, right? But these clients that are with us, they have understood that self-custody is important, and ETF or having Bitcoin on an exchange is not really doing the trick. But like the real deal is to get real Bitcoin in a self-custodial way. And then we also see high net worth individuals and businesses really going, irresponsibly long or really like almost all in, which is also nice to see. Like you also have these Bitcoin maxi profiles. But what we see what all of them have in common is that they shift from assets they own, from real estate, for example, from gold or other precious metals, from stocks. They sell stocks for Bitcoin as well, and mostly also fixed income stuff like T-bills, because there are just some, asset classes like bonds that today don't really make sense, especially if you see on the other hand that there's Bitcoin, which just performs extraordinary well and steadily well in the last 10 years, an average of like 40 to 60% a year return. Then people take notice, especially the people that have money, because they have a lot of time that they invest in thinking about, where do I protect my money, where do I invest my money so it doesn't lose purchasing power. Ideally it gains purchasing power, and they all come to this realization that Bitcoin is just the best store of value. There's not a high chance that it goes down. There's a very high chance it goes up because of how it's being built and how it's being developed also in the last 10-15 years, how it's been adopted. So yeah, mostly we see people switching from many different asset classes to Bitcoin. And what we also see is that the younger generations, the millennials or Gen Z, that are now starting to invest their money, as you said before, they maybe don't even start investing in bonds or stocks, maybe real estate, not really. They often start with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and there as well, they maybe start with Bitcoin because, as you said, it's super easy. It's much easier to just get a relay account and buy some Bitcoin than to get onboarded with some sort of broker to buy stocks. So it's very easy for them to get onboarded. They buy some Bitcoin, then they usually go the crypto altcoin route, where they try out all different things. They buy some Hawk Tua or Trump meme coin or whatever, and then after a few months or a few years, they then see that this is all, not going to work on the long run, and they come back to being mainly into Bitcoin. And so I think a lot of young people that are now in their like teenage years or in their 20s and they start investing, I mean, most of them will have Bitcoin incorporated into their investing strategy in some sort of way. And I think more and more it will become a bigger and bigger part of their portfolio, and more they will see it as a saving thing, not really an investing thing, because investing means you take risk, and a lot of people don't actually want to take risk. They just want to save their hard-earned money. They want to keep their purchasing power and transport it into the future, and Bitcoin is the best tool for that. And that's what more and more people figure out, because it's lower risk than investing in the stock market, and it's actually probably even a higher output that you get from it. So that's what makes me believe that this Bitcoin thing has such a bright future, because more of the people that are a bit older that have money now, they start shifting capital from old asset classes to this new asset class, Bitcoin. And the younger people that start getting money and investing, they start off with Bitcoin, and they have understood Bitcoin, and they allocate more and more to Bitcoin. So in the end, it's an asset with a finite supply, hard cap 21 million, and there's more and more and more demand, like money that wants to flow into it. So it's pretty clear what's gonna happen to the price, and that excites me a lot.
Now that we have Trump taking presidency, I think is going to lead the US into a different universe. And of course, I would imagine everyone is going to follow Europe, Asia, and so forth. And also, you appointed a bunch of interesting people. So are you expecting the US to drive forward?
Yes, I definitely think so. I think there's two important points. One is on regulation, and one is on this strategic reserve, or stockpile, as they have started to call it. So I think from a regulation perspective, it's totally clear that things are going to happen. It's going to be very positive for both Bitcoin and crypto. It's just going to, there will be a broader attempt of deregulation and just sensible regulation for the Bitcoin and crypto industry. I think David Sachs, who is going to lead the crypto working group, will have, he is a Bitcoiner. He has understood Bitcoin and crypto. I mean, he comes from a venture capital approach. But I think he will do well also with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel in the background, doing their thing with the Doge. So all this deregulation and sensible regulation, and Trump's kind of vision to become the world leader. The US want to become the world leader in crypto, etc. That's going to be great, and they will. This is going to be. It's going to be very positive. Also, banks will get more and more into Bitcoin through that, because they will be allowed to custody Bitcoin. They will bring forth accounting standards that are very, very good for also companies to add Bitcoin on their balance sheet, etc. So there will be a lot of inflow of capital through that, and then it will, break down to all the other countries and regions, including, of course, Europe. Europe will follow whatever the US is doing, and then also like Middle and South America, very likely Africa, very likely also parts of Asia. Russia is like independently already kind of coming to Bitcoin and crypto. So I think that whole regulation or deregulation of crypto will be, of the crypto industry, will be great. And that looks for me very clear where it's going. It doesn't look very clear. I don't have a very clear picture on where it's going about this whole Bitcoin reserve, strategic reserve, and stockpile discussion. Lately, it seems that there has been also initiatives and proposals of adding other digital assets to that, like Ripple or XRP and Solana, because these guys have, of course, also helped fund the campaign of Trump a lot. So they get some time with Trump now and make these proposals. And also some of them, like the XRP people, are also working actively against Bitcoin. They really want to make the case that they are made in America, and that America should have parts or big parts of their stockpile or their strategic reserves in these currencies, which I obviously believe makes zero sense. Everything else than Bitcoin doesn't make sense to be on a strategic reserve of a country. And those countries that have started, like El Salvador, of course, they go that way, and that makes total sense. But yeah, there it's not quite clear to me whether it's gonna even happen on a federal level. Where it looks clear is it's gonna happen. It is already happening on the state level. So I think 12 or 13, and people say up to 15 this year will of states, including like Pennsylvania, Ohio, I don't know, many different states. They have passed legislation already to start a Bitcoin reserve. So I think some states will do it, but that's of course not where the big money is. It's also very big money and a great credibility step for Bitcoin. So that's amazing, and maybe it's one step into the federal level Bitcoin, a strategic Bitcoin reserve, which is where the big money lies. But there, I'm not sure yet how it's going to look like. It could be anything from, oh, it was just hot air, and actually this crypto working group headed by David Sachs is now tasked by Trump with an executive order to evaluate whether it makes sense or not for the USA to create this Bitcoin reserve. So whatever the outcome of that will be, will of course determine how it's gonna move forward. It could be anything from, oh, we have evaluated and actually it doesn't make sense for the US to get involved there, to like a moderate thing where, okay, we already have these 215,000 Bitcoin. They are seized Bitcoin. They are now, I think, held by the FBI or the marshals. I don't know, some sort of authority body, whatever. And let's just take them and move them to the strategic reserve. So that would be already something. That would be a signal. But then maybe they would not buy more. So yeah, that would be that. Or there would be this very bullish scenario that RFK has already talked about as well in Nashville and at the big Bitcoin conference last year, where he said the USA should actually buy up to 1 million Bitcoin per year for the next 4 years, so like 4 million Bitcoin. And that would of course be super crazy, like, but that would probably like lead to also problems with fiat currencies. A fiat currency would then really devaluate a lot because the Bitcoin price would just skyrocket so hard. So I think it will be anything in between. Hard to say right now. What I just hope is that this whole discussion will focus on the discussion on the stockpile and the strategic reserve will just focus on Bitcoin, because that would be really a distraction to add other cryptos there. And then whether or how fast US will implement it remains to be seen. The deregulation will be, of course, broad for all the cryptos, but that I also don't mind. Like I'm a fan of libertarian approach to economy and markets. Free markets should be as deregulated as possible. So I don't care about these cryptos there. But then from a political perspective, geopolitical perspective, the US adding stuff like XRP and Solana on the stockpile really doesn't make sense. But I think they will figure this out, and maybe they will put like a little bit, like 5% of the quote unquote stockpile will be in coins, just to kind of please the guys that have funded Trump, and then 95% will be on Bitcoin. That's also something that might happen, right? But yeah, we'll see. It's definitely interesting, and I think, look, sooner or later it's going to come. Will it come in 25 or 26? Will it even be in Trump's administration? Will it be in the next administration? Who knows? But it's gonna come. It's the genie's out of the bottle. They can't go back because they talked about it so much now. It has been in the New York Times and Washington Post and everywhere. And Cynthia Loomis and other senators and officials, high level politicians have talked about it so much. States have already started. This whole strategic Bitcoin reserve thing, it's gonna come. The question is when, not if.
I also was in Nashville, and I had the feeling that Trump was talking to the 200,000 Bitcoin as we're going to keep those. But I feel, they launched their World Finance thing, the DeFi platform with the Trump family, and they've been buying Aave, Chainlink, Ethereum. Ripple and XRP, I don't think so, because if I'm not mistaken, they donated money to Kamala. So one of the two founders was heavily into Kamala winning the election. So I don't think Trump is going to like them. There's been a lot of speculation lately. And I don't even think, I agree with you, by the way. I like the free market. I'm for the free market. Happy for people to choose where to put their money. But if you are thinking that putting XRP into a stockpile for a strategic reserve is a good idea, you should probably study both Bitcoin and XRP and then think again, because there is nothing that they share in common. I don't even think they are competitors. They are just bananas and apples, right? Completely different things.
Yeah, no, I just think Trump probably doesn't have this understanding, this deep understanding, and he doesn't care that much. But then I truly believe that some of the people in charge, RFK, unfortunately, RFK has really understood Bitcoin, but he's on another chair now. He has more this whole health topic under him, but also David Sachs and a lot of others. I think they have understood fairly well that and David Sachs talked about this before, about a Bitcoin reserve, not about a crypto reserve. And he talked about the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, and that he's a fan of both, but that there is a difference between Bitcoin, small digital gold savings technology, etc., commodity, and the other cryptos. Some of them are securities, some of them are utility coins, some of them are collectibles, meme coins, etc. And he's open for all of this, but he's also for like clarity, and we need this categorization. And depending on what it is, you need to treat it differently, and it needs to be regulated differently, etc. So I'm hopeful. I think David Sachs is actually quite a good pick for leading this effort. And he's, I think, from what I can judge now, from what I know, from what I've heard from him, it's probably going to be good for Bitcoin that he is leading this whole crypto initiative thing.
I think so as well. And how much do you think is going to change the 4-year cycles? Because so far we've been, in this cycle every 4 years, there is going to be a moment where Bitcoin goes up, there's going to be a correction. Do you think this is going to change perhaps these cycles moving forward?
Maybe. I think it's hard to say. I think it showed that somehow these cycles just repeat for different reasons, probably mostly for kind of market and people psychological reasons, because it's just there need to be these hypes and frenzies, and then there need to be these cool off periods, and so that there can be a next hype driven by a next narrative, right? So I think this is probably not going to change. Maybe still this year should be, according to the cycles, still be an up year, which I think it will be, driven by Trump and all these announcements that there will be around Bitcoin deregulation, Bitcoin strategic reserve, etc., etc. And then maybe next year or the year after, who knows? There may be other priorities. There might be economic problems like recessions. There might be kind of conflicts, whatever that drives the attention away from Bitcoin. So the retail investors and also other investors maybe start taking money again from Bitcoin and put it into, from their perspective, more safe things like gold, or maybe the interest rates will go up again and they will put more into bonds again, and whatever. Who knows? Maybe there will be another then maybe 2 years of bear market cool off period, but of course at a higher level. So maybe this will be then at like 150k level, where we will be thinking, well, it's like a stable period and bear market, and then it will go up again with maybe the next halving, which usually is the catalyst for, because it reminds people how scarce Bitcoin is, right? So yeah, I don't really know. I think it should also, because the adoption grows. We're now in Europe at around 10% adoption, which, if you compare it to the internet, which also had these ups and downs, right, until it really got adopted. We are at the end of the 90s if you compare it to the internet. So about the same amount of people that have used the internet in like 97, 98 are now using Bitcoin. And from the beginning of the 80s, when the internet got introduced to then almost 20 years later, it also had these ups and downs, these cycles, until it really hit this critical mass kind of adoption of probably, I don't know, maybe 30-40% of people using it. And then from there, it was basically up only to now pretty much everyone in the Western world is using it. Maybe it's also that. Maybe we are at this inflection point where Bitcoin can't be ignored anymore and is not ignored anymore. And enough wealthy people and powerful people, and also governments and politicians, and the media has maybe found its position that it's not going away anymore. So it's this constant topic, and it doesn't cool off anymore, and doesn't have these bear markets anymore. I could see both. In the end, I think for people thinking about that question, it shouldn't even matter too much, because whatever happens, either of these scenarios, if you just DCA, if you just buy Bitcoin regularly with the money you can afford now, you don't really need in the next few years. So like if you look at it as a savings account that you just top up with money you don't necessarily need, then you'll be doing well. Because if we look back, everyone that has ever held Bitcoin for 4 years or more has done very well. So has made like a return on these investments, if you will. So it's basically if you just wait 4 years, and depending on when you buy, usually it's less. But if you like bought at the top of the last bull market, and then waited for, which was the worst time you could buy, right? And then you wait for 4 years, it went up, right? So your purchasing power is now better. So it's all about patience. Doesn't matter whether now it's just going to go up only or whether it keeps doing these cycles, ups and downs. There will always be a bit of volatility, of course, but if you have a bit of a long-term investment horizon, which is 4 years or 5, then you'll be doing well, and so you can sleep calmly.
Are you expecting banks to start adopting stablecoin anytime soon?
Could be, could be, but I think interestingly, they see stablecoins much more as a competitor, where they would like to fight stablecoins more than Bitcoin. I think they will adopt Bitcoin actually more easily because they see it as something that they can trade and they can offer to their clients, like trading, Bitcoin custody, and of course coins as well. So basically, Bitcoin and crypto, it's a business for them. They have now understood that they can sell the trading, the custody, and the ETFs. They can make money from all that stuff. So it's like great. Banks will adopt it heavily, especially with the new regulations that are now coming under Trump, where they are allowed and in a low, not too much regulated way to do all this. This will be great for banks. When they look at stablecoins, they see, oh, this is actually competition, right? Because then people don't really need banks anymore to safeguard their money, custody their money, transact their money, make payments, etc. So, oh, this is actually going to cannibalize our business. We don't like that. And then they work together with central banks and governments, who are pretty much all the same, right? Banks, central banks, and governments, they're so close. They're pretty much the same. So they will work with them to heavily regulate stablecoins out of the private sector. So, like, think about Tether, Circle, all these big private companies that are offering stablecoins, and they will work on CBDCs, which are stablecoins as well, but they are of course restricted to serve only, or to be offered only by again, the banks, central banks, the governments, the authorities. And that's what they want in the end. They want control, they want their business still. So they will try a lot, and that's what you see now in Europe. Maybe through the Trump initiatives, this will be reverted. But in Europe, they really try to over-regulate as much as possible stablecoins, so that they can launch their CBDCs, their stablecoins, and then they can have the control. They can make the money, not the private companies. That's why Tether basically got kicked out of the whole European market. Circle was let in, but super highly over-regulated. The Trump administration, Trump himself, I think, signed an executive order to ban CBDCs in the US. So the US will not launch a CBDC anytime soon. They want to help the market to create stable coins and make money, and so they will tax that, and so that's how they profit. So they take a more libertarian stance, whereas Europe does the opposite. Let's see which approach will win. Most likely it's going to be in the end the US one that will win, but banks will always tend more towards adopting Bitcoin and crypto, I think, because they can make money from it, and it doesn't necessarily compete with their model. It's actually a complementation of their model. It helps them make more money, make more business, and keep their clients, make their clients happy, etc. And where stable coins, they will try to push for CBDCs and overregulate them, keep them small so that they can have still their incumbent business. That's kind of how I see it. But also there, super hard to know what's going to happen in the next few years. It's just interesting to watch, right?
I agree. I think there's going to be a weird crossover in between banks and exchanges, and I think the CBDC is already here. I mean, I think Tether and USDC are kind of representing it. You know, their money, they can be programmed. In fact, I don't think you can purchase certain items with USDC already in the US. I don't think you can buy. So, I mean, even though Trump said, "Oh, we don't want to have any CBDCs," they already have it. in plain view. But I think this is all going to help Bitcoin. It's like the marketing team, right? So one way or another, I think all the roads are taking us to Bitcoin. So overall,
Absolutely. Overall, everything is good for Bitcoin, right?
exactly. But Julian, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Maurizio. It's great show. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for having me. And yeah, see you soon. Maybe in Las Vegas. You said you are at every Bitcoin conference, so hopefully you'll be in Las Vegas as well.
100%. Yeah, looking forward to it. And guys, as always, I will link Julian and Relay in the description. Make sure to check him out. Yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.